trauma from social distancing and stay-at-home orders are doubly hard on Holocaust survivors. It causes hardship and brings back painful memories. What a tragedy it would be for someone to survive the Holocaust only to die of the virus. So says one Jewish leader, and she's doing her best to prevent that. Take a look.
Following in the footsteps of her beloved father, Rabbi Yael Eckstein, Yael Eckstein is the president of the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews. Her parents made sure their 3 daughters understood and grew in their Jewish faith by welcoming questions and keeping the traditions Jews have honored for millennia. Yael's latest book, Generation to Generation, celebrates and explains how to pass down the faith and values of Jews and Christians alike.
Welcome back to the 700 Club, Yael Eckstein. It's wonderful to have you with us.
Thank you so much. It's great to be with you.
How is Israel coping with the coronavirus?
Well, I think Israel is in a unique situation because we're used to dealing with reality in times of crisis. So normally it's war and rockets, and today it's corona. But I think that Israel is in a relatively good place regarding the COVID death numbers because we've taken very early measures before we even saw what could possibly happen. We knew that this was a threat, and the government took very harsh measures early on to make sure that everyone's safe.
Your dad had such a heart for Holocaust survivors, and I know you've carried that on in your own work. What is your organization doing to help?
Well, the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews is focused on helping the elderly, the Holocaust survivors, the new immigrants that we bring from the biblical land of the North, from the former Soviet Union and Russia to Israel, that we help them on an ongoing basis. And as soon as we saw that when Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu very early on ordered the stay-at-home orders, we realized that it was these elderly that would need more help than ever. So immediately we established a $5 million COVID emergency fund where we've brought over 30,000 elderly food boxes on an ongoing basis. We have actually soldiers packing these food boxes because the logistics of getting people together to volunteer to pack the food boxes is difficult when more than 10 people can't be together. So we're doing everything to reach out to the Holocaust survivors by phone, with food, helping the hospitals in Israel with emergency equipment that will be used in the future during war as well. And everything we do, we tell the people of Israel, this is because of Christians who love you that it was made possible.
Let's talk about your book a little bit because I really loved it. Generation to Generation, the subtitle, Passing on a Legacy of Faith to Our Children. And what is it about the Jewish faith that intrinsically just seems to do this so well?
Well, I don't think there's any other people, you know, when we read the Bible and we read about all the different nations that were around back then, I don't think there are any of them that are still around today. And Israel, the people of Israel, the Jewish people who are exiled from their land for over 2,000 years, I think it's definitely something spiritual that if God says in the Bible, these are the chosen nation that will return eventually to Israel on the shoulders of the Gentiles, that one day there'll be world peace and beautiful times, and the ancient biblical language will be renewed on the tongue of the people of Israel, and children will dance in the street. God had to keep us alive. And so I think there's definitely something spiritual there, that God needed us around for some reason, wanted us around. But I think it's also that there are traditions from the Bible, the traditions that Jesus kept. You know, we just celebrated Passover, that we know the Last Supper, that Jesus was eating matzah, right? The unleavened bread. And so there are a lot of biblical traditions that the Jewish people have held on to through this exile, which have enabled us to hold on to our faith and pass it on to the next generation.
Well,
so in this modern time,
I just want to say your book covers 8 Jewish holy days and then contains corresponding lessons from the New Testament, which is so helpful to us in understanding, as we're grafted into the vine, we believe, you know, what our celebration ought to be that would be on the same line as yours as a Jewish woman. Give us an example of that.
Well, it's exactly what you say, the rich olive tree of Israel, that you are the branches. And so, just as the branches need the roots, right? The roots need the branches. We see that today more now than ever, as Christians are Israel's greatest friends, and and the Jewish people need the love and support and encouragement and prayer of Christians so much, and also how Christians are going back to their biblical roots largely by learning from the Jewish tradition. And so it's something as simple, you could say, as the Sabbath, that right now I call it Yom Shekulo Shabbat. We're in a time where every day is the Sabbath, it feels like, when we're home every day and we can't really go anywhere and everything is closed and we're focused just on the most important things of being in our home, being with our family, being in prayer, focusing on how we can better the world, focusing on intention and what we shouldn't take for granted, but really going back to this place of simplicity. That one of the rabbis said, more than the Jewish people have kept the Sabbath has kept the Jewish people. And so I think that that's one example that Christians, I often hear them say that Christians have lost the meaning of the Sabbath. We have the word, you know, you could call Sunday the Christian Sabbath, but the meaning behind it, the intention behind it. And these biblical holidays are not man-made holidays. They were given to us because they are good for us, because they give us meaning, and it helps us find not only God, but it helps us find ourselves.
Do you have a favorite holiday that you celebrate?
Oh, that's a hard one. I really look at, yeah, it's like choosing a favorite child, right? Each one of them is different, but you love them all the same. Each holiday really gives me different tools that when I get to Rosh Hashanah, the beginning of the year, I feel like I went through this. I went through this system of getting all the tools that I needed throughout the year from each of the holidays. You know, we have Tisha B'Av, when both temples were destroyed, that God says, okay, I want you to be happy, I want you to rejoice, but it's okay to be sad, it's okay to mourn about the right things. Today's a day of mourning. And you know what? It's important to mourn sometimes also. And then we have Hanukkah, where we celebrate miracles and remember that miracles can and do happen today. We just finished Passover, the holiday of redemption, where I realized, what am I slaves to? What can I be redeemed from God? What are those prayers that I want to pray for, that I'll be redeemed from God in my own life today? That I really feel like it's a culmination of all the holidays together that give me different tools to be able to rejoice and praise and worship God in the perfect way.
We are running out of time, but I want to be sure to tell folks again, the name of the book is Generation to Generation, Passing the Legacy of Our Faith to Our Children. It's rich in what it shares. I highly recommend it. Yael, thank you so much. Wonderful to have you with us.
Thank you so much.
Blessings to you.